Time for another Nerdy Virgin podcast. My name is Joshua Snyder. I did not lose my virginity until I was 32. And that's all you need to know. That will explain why I'm probably going to be spending a bulk of this podcast talking about the movies Interview with the Vampire and The Shadow. Because if it's one thing I think it's very important when podcasting, it's to be timely. It's to make sure you're speaking about the moment as opposed to, living in the past. I was listening to another podcast, Bill Burr, and when he was on Conan, and Bill Burr was talking about how he's watching 70s movies because that's the era he grew up in, and there's a nostalgia element. And I found myself over the past couple of days kind of doing the same thing with the 90s, which was when I was middle school and high school, or as I like to call it, the birth of my depression. And specifically, Interview with the Vampire, I watched before I get to that, some context. My goal is I want to be a headlining comedian, and I want to get used to talking for an hour. And so that's what this podcast is an attempt for me to basically do an hour of stand-up with no preparation and in front of no audience. So in many ways, what I'm doing is the exact opposite of stand-up. What I'm doing is not stand-up. I'm using it because I wanted. It's the next best thing if you're me. If you're not me, it may not be the next best thing. It may be a horrible thing to behold. I'm not sure. Somebody is listening to this, I think, according to the stats. Sometimes I think the stats on the podcast app are lying to me just to make me feel better. But at any rate, that's the objective of this. I may have to start and stop. If people walk into the office while I'm recording this, I stop. Because I cannot podcast while being observed. It's a fundamental law of particle physics. I cannot podcast while being observed. It just does not work. Back to Interview with the Vampire, which was free on YouTube. I think only because I'm paying $15 a month for the YouTube Premium service. So it's really not free. It's a cute notion to call it free. It's not free. It's $15 a month. And I'm watching Interview with the Vampire, which was a movie that I watched the first time I saw it. A couple of things. My mom at the time was in the hospital dealing with her alcoholism. And so I was staying with my cousins over Christmas break. And my cousin Mari and I walked over to the movie theater to see Interview with the Vampire. So immediately when I'm watching it, I'm wondering if there's going to be some kind of residual trace of the emotion that was going on around when my mom was hospitalized. And it's funny that when I think about it, the thing that keeps coming up for me in a way is this detachment or this numbness, which is probably a huge red flag in terms of emotion, or this feeling of loss, or this feeling of distance. My mom was having health problems earlier this year, and she's better now. But I think the struggle here for me is the notion that she's not always going to be there. And what I've started to tell myself is, well, if she's not always going to be there, I need to get used to her not being there. And so I've basically cut myself off, which is what I do with everybody. I just figure, well, sooner or later, people are going to hate me, leave me, die. or betray me. So instead of forming long-term, meaningful relationships, I podcast alone. Well, you have your family. I have my podcast. You have a significant other. I have the constant need to create content that 12 to 20 people listen to, and they probably just listen to the first few minutes of the thing. There's a hole in your heart. There's an emptiness. No, I filled it with my podcast. Oh, mercy. So, anyway, Interview with the Vampire. Let's dive into this. Based on the novel by Anne Rice. It is a great movie. It is a well-acted movie. I read the review by Roger Ebert, and what he points out is that basically they took the material seriously, and the guy who directed it, Neil Jordan, I think had directed a lot of dramas before this and treated it more like a drama and less like horror or, schmaltzy horror. This was Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise, but I remember Tom Cruise is only in about half of it. Brad Pitt is the lead, but Tom Cruise at the time got the top billing. I don't think Brad Pitt was as well known when they made it. And Tom Cruise is kind of the antagonist. And it is a good movie. I enjoyed watching it again. I enjoyed it now more than when I watched it before. Because when I watched it, I was in middle school. And I remember Mari was the one who wanted to see this one. So we're sitting there, and the movie starts, but I can tell it's the wrong movie. They accidentally played Star Trek Generations the first 30 seconds of it instead of Interview with the Vampire. And I was so thrilled. I thought everyone else in the theater was like, no, this isn't it. This is WWE. And I was like, this is amazing. This is amazing. I wanted to see Star Trek The Next Generations, or I wanted to see Star Trek Generations again anyway. I did not want to see Interview with the Vampire. It was beautiful. But then they figured it out. They stopped it. They put it in the right reel, and then they showed Interview with the Vampire. And I don't even know how we got it. I think that was an R-rated movie. Somehow we got into it. Well, back then they weren't so. I don't know how we did that. I think we might have bought a ticket to see. Did we buy a ticket to see something else and then we went to see? I can't even remember. Anyway, we were watching the movie. They played Interview with the Vampire. We watched it. It is a good movie. The acting's good. I gotta say, so everything I'm about to say about the movie, I just want everyone to understand when I am joking about the movie, it is from a place of understanding that this is a quality film. So hopefully, if one of the 12 people listening to this podcast is anyone who worked on the movie Interview with the Vampire, I hope to God you don't come away with this feeling offended. Delusions of Grandeur should be the name of this podcast. At any rate, given that it's a good movie, the main character, Louis, a.k.a. Brad Pitt, everything seems to happen around him. And it's not until the very end of the movie where it's so many of his decisions seem to be reactive as opposed to proactive. And he's just kind of at first led by the Tom Cruise character, which I believe is pronounced Lestat. And so I feel like it's 2 hours of Brad Pitt going, no, you can't. No, you don't mean it. No, I won't. No, I won't do it. No. How could you have done that? Why did I allow this? No, you mustn't. There's a lot of that for 2 hours. And Kirsten Dunst is also in it, who plays this little girl who gets turned into a vampire, so she stays 10 years old forever. So at one point, she's got to start acting like she's 30. Does a great job, by the way. And there's a moment where the two of them are about to kiss that I was reading somewhere. Someone was saying, that may not hold up now. That's problematic. That's creepy. But, yeah, all in all, it's just a lot of Brad Pitt going, no, I cannot. We cannot. You could do this, but I could not. Lestat, no. No, why? We mustn't, no. No, we cannot. 2 hours of that. Of him lamenting that he's a vampire. And I guess in the other thing that this movie does that all vampire movies do is there's always a scene where a vampire says he explains the rules of how you defeat a vampire or what vampires can do and not do. And I feel like in the most recent incarnation of vampire movies, there's always this incredulousness that the person has who's explaining it. No, we're not killed by crosses. We are still killed by sunlight though, but we're not killed by crosses. This isn't ridiculous. No, garlic can't hurt us. That's an old wives' tale. We can, however, be burned in a fire. That is true. And the rules are arbitrary based on the franchise. It depends. You kill a vampire based on the needs of the franchise. If garlic feels too schmaltzy for your franchise, the garlic doesn't kill him. No. You do a stake through the heart. That doesn't do it. No, you have to put the stake through the liver. That's what does it. Oh, that makes sense. That's not ridiculous. The movie, there was just a lot of scenes in that movie where Brad Pitt is horrified by something, so he runs away into the dark alley. A lot of Brad Pitt running away into dark alleys. No, I can't. I must go into this dark alley and seethe. I got to be honest with you about my favorite part of the movie. I'm going to be totally honest. Towards the end of the movie, the Brad Pitt character talks about living in modern America. He's never been able to see a sunrise since he turned into a vampire. So there's all of the daylight colors he's never been able to really see again. But in the 20th century, movies become a thing. He starts going to movies, and the movies are where he can go to see those colors again. And there's a montage of him watching a bunch of different movies. And my favorite moment in Interview with the Vampire is the moment where he's sitting in a movie theater watching a scene from Superman, watching Superman fly over the earth. And every time I get to that point in Interview with the Vampire, it's like 3 seconds of a vacation from Interview with the Vampire where I actually get to watch Superman. And I'm not a huge vampire guy. I'm just not into vampires. I'm more of a superhero guy. So I think they should capitalize on this. I think in any movie that's any vampire movie, if you could just have 5 minutes of Iron Man, just a scene where Edward Cullen is just sitting on the couch watching Iron Man, and we just hold on Iron Man for just a minute. We just hold on the screen for just 2, 3, 5, 10 minutes, just so some of us can get a break, and then we can go back to the vampire going, no, it isn't. It can't. We're doomed. No, we mustn't. No, I have to run into this alley because I can't face. No, it isn't. You mustn't. No. So I watched an interview with the vampire. It was fun. Then, later that night, I watched Twister, which I haven't seen in a lot of years. I always loved that movie. Twister's great. I thoroughly enjoyed that movie. That's the tornado movie. Helen Hunt, who I think is a great action hero. I don't know why she didn't do more action movies, because I thought she was great in it, because she was understated, and she grounded it. No pun intended. Grounded, tornado, all that. See, that's why it's a comedy podcast right there. You're not going to find that in an NPR podcast about serious things. Twister puns. You're not going to find that. Tell all your friends about this podcast. Let's bring that number 12 to 13. Twister, another 90s movie. I got very nervous watching Twister because Bill Paxton has passed away. And I've got this thing if I watch a movie with somebody who was alive when I was alive but is no longer alive, I get freaked out a little bit. And I suddenly go, what if I have the same thing that killed him? That's how my brain works. That's what I live with every day. That's what I do when I'm not podcasting. I'm making ridiculous leaps in logic and then allowing myself to be swept up emotionally by that, and finding myself unable to experience joy. It's what I do on my day off. I don't know what you do. That's how I jam, baby. That is how I jam. So Twister is a ridiculous film, but fantastic. These scientists are trying to chase down the tornadoes so they can throw scientific instruments into the tornado. Because if they throw the scientific instruments, if they throw these little metallic balls with sensors into the tornado, they'll be able to track the tornado from within the tornado. And I just can't help but get the feeling that there's probably a more logical way of getting those sensors into the tornado than driving a truck into it. I could be wrong. What do I know about tornadoes? Precious little. It's still an awesome film. I love whenever they add this. So the subplot of this movie is Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton are both scientists. At one point they were together. They're broken up. Bill Paxton's about to get married to this other lady, and he needs Helen Hunt to finalize the divorce papers. And so he's just out there trying to get her to sign the divorce papers while she's chasing the tornadoes, and eventually he gets caught up in it, and he forgets how much he loves chasing tornadoes, which I don't know how you would forget that. I never, I don't know, the moment of, oh, right, I love chasing tornadoes. I feel like that would be a bit more indelible than, I forgot how much I love this. Really? You forgot how much you love chasing tornadoes. You totally slipped. Walking down the street, having a coffee. Oh, right, tornadoes. I love chasing tornadoes. How did I let that go? But there's the two of them are falling in love again, basically, as they're chasing the tornadoes. Fine. I guess. I think in a movie where there's a constant threat of being sucked up by a tornado, is that subplot really necessary? You mean to tell me that the drama of a tornado sucking a human being up into it and throwing them 50, 100, 500 yards to their death is not dramatic enough? Wait a minute. We need to add a subplot about a couple who can't face their own emotions. Like at the end of the pitch meeting, he's talking about the tornado. They're going to be sucked into the tornado. At one point, there's the bad guys are going to get sucked in. And you're going to see their car fling all the way around, and then just explode. People's homes are going to be destroyed. They're going to be nearly crushed. After all that pitch, the executive says, "Yeah, but." You know what it's missing? It's missing a couple who's just about to enter middle age, and they think they know what they want, but they don't. Where's that? Where's that in my tornado movie? I mean, yes, you have the twister in the movie Twister. But you know what the real twister is? The twisted relationship between these two people. And we have to see it get untwisted. So yeah, I don't know if it needed that exactly. I mean, I think by the time they got to Kong versus Godzilla, I think they've learned, we don't need this subplot. We just need Kong. We need Godzilla. We need a couple of humans to kind of explain why things are happening, and then we just go for it. Oh, what am I saying? I know why they did it. Because back then, the special effects were a lot more expensive, so they needed filler. But it was a thoroughly enjoyable movie. And it was a good movie for me to watch after Interview with the Vampire because it was much more kinetic. People running around going, we got to get... It's changing course. It's shifting. It's shifting. Johnson, it's shifting. Much more active. You know who they couldn't have had on the Storm Chasers? Because there's a whole group of people who are chasing the tornadoes, led by Helen Hunt. You know who they couldn't have had on the team? Would have been the Vampire. We have to chase this tornado. No, you mustn't. You don't. I can't witness it. I can't. There's too much evil in the world already. I can't. You must go on without. We didn't ask you to come with us. In fact, we're not sure why you're even. We got to do this during the day. Aren't you going to die during the day? No, vampires don't die during the day. No. But if there is a wooden stake that flies because of the twister and it gets through my heart, then that would kill me. Yeah, I'm just going to hang back because it's too much. I need to find an empty alley and seethe. Yeah, that wouldn't work. That's why they didn't do that. That's why they didn't make the movie that way. Good point. That's why they didn't make the movie that way. Now, it was kind of bittersweet. I totally forgot this, but Philip Seymour Hoffman was in Twister in one of the supporting roles. He was this, kind of wacky storm chaser guy. And the premise was that all these storm chasers were, actually, I'm just thinking about this as I'm wheeling through this. So you got Helen Hunt, you got Bill Paxton, very attractive people. They're the leaders, right? They're the leaders of this outfit. And all the other storm chasers are nerds who look and smell awful. And I feel, and maybe this is an overgeneralization, I feel that in reality, they would all look like the other storm chasers. There would be no Helen Hunt. Because I think if somebody like Helen Hunt grew up in the middle of Oklahoma and dealt with the tragedy of a twister in her life, but she looked like Helen Hunt, she would go to California and become Helen Hunt. That's what I think would happen. And then play this in a movie, not actually live this. And maybe I'm being, and this is just coming out of personal jealousy because they wouldn't cast me as the leader of the group. They'd cast, best case scenario, I would be the guy in the car going, it's drifting to the left. Joe, it's drifting to the left. You got to get out of there, Joe. That is exactly who I would be cast as. And it's not to speak ill of either Helen Hunt or Bill Paxton. They both did a great job. Playing the two most attractive storm chasers who have ever existed. That is what that was. That's fine. I'll allow it, I suppose. How am I doing on time? All right, about halfway through. Halfway through this podcast. I found myself emotionally affected by Twister. I mean, I got caught up in the story, but I think it's also because of that sense memory, maybe, of remembering, back this. I think I would have seen it when I was in middle school, I believe, is when it came out. But the other thing I think that was somewhat nostalgic for me is the growing up in Colorado and remembering the skies, especially in the summer. And it's just a different quality of light than L.A. And I prefer L.A. to Colorado. I'm not saying that one is better than the other. I'm just saying I personally prefer L.A. But I have to say, I do at times miss the Colorado sky. I don't even know why I miss this. I don't know why the sky. Maybe it's just, I think what it is it's me missing youth. And not that I was, it wasn't bad youth. I mean, it was, I guess for the most part, a happy youth. But I miss, what I miss about youth more than anything was that the future was full of possibilities. So I don't miss my youth. I miss the point in my youth where I thought things are going to get better. And I just don't feel the same. I guess the older I get and the more I live and the more I see, the more I guess I don't feel those possibilities, which is just negative thinking. Those possibilities can exist if I make them. I'm at a really horrible place right now when it comes to relationships. Based on recent dealings I've had with people, not even in a relationship context, I've gotten really bitter, and I'm telling myself I can't trust anybody. And I know intellectually that is not true, and I'm allowing my emotions. I'm going to lie down on the couch as I do this part because that feels. It's essentially what this is, a therapy session. I know that it's just me overreacting. I tend to overreact just a little bit. It's why I'd make a great vampire. I'd be so, just the drama and the depression. I'd be a great vampire. I don't know. I've said it before, and I will say it again. I would be the only vampire who's still afraid of death. I'd be the only vampire going. I mean, we've never experienced the coronavirus before. Maybe this and garlic could kill us when combined. Yeah, in all the different vampires. How does the coronavirus affect vampires? Have we figured that out in a movie yet? Well, if you're infected during the day, it might kill you, but if you're infected at night, you'll be fine. But so I'm very, so I think that's what this nostalgia, back when I was 15 or 16, I guess I assumed at one point I would be in love. And now that feels exceedingly unlikely. It's my own choice. I guess it's because when I look at the reality, it's because the love that I see in the movies is not the love that exists in real life. That it just seems to me that the best case scenario, if I were to be in a relationship, is that it would be dysfunctional but bearable. That feels like the best case scenario. And I don't want that right now. I don't know. The only time it seems to work out is when one or both of the couple is at a certain age where there's a maturity level. I think for me, if I turn 90, that'll be the time I can finally get married. That's when I can finally settle down, I think. And that's what I'm dealing with at this point. And being very sick to my stomach because I had ramen, which was delicious ramen. I just can't digest it anymore. So I am still recovering from that. Ramen and Interview with the Vampire. Because I work at a comedy club, I don't watch a lot of comedy when I'm not working. Because this may come as a shock to you, but it's kind of the last thing I want to watch when I'm home. So, weirdly, Interview with the Vampire is a vacation for me. I need a prolonged period of time with little to no humor. Tom Cruise had humor in it. Tom Cruise was funny in it, actually. He's always, when he plays these kind of off-kilter supporting characters, it's always fun to watch that. And he was this sadistic vampire who was so interesting. It might have been better if he was the lead, maybe. In fact, I think when they made a sequel to it where he was the lead. Queen of the Damned, as I recall. Which makes sense, because if I have to choose between the vampire who says, no, I must find an alley, I cannot, and the vampire who actually enjoys being a vampire, which one would you choose? There you have it. Should we check some movie news? See what's going on in the realm of movie news? Check some movie news, shall we? get out my iPad, see what's happening in the realm of movie news. What are the updates? What are the updates in the realm of movie news? Why is it taking me so long to get my iPad out? Because I'm recording. I've noticed whenever I'm recording, simple tasks suddenly take twice as long. Oh, it's also weird. This didn't lock. Usually this locks. Okay. Fear Street, Part 2, 1978. There's a new trailer for it. I didn't even know there was a Fear Street Part 1. Is that actually the name of the street? In the wake of the trilogy launcher, Fear Street Part 1, 1994, on Friday, launching to strong reviews, Netflix has released the full trailer for the second installment, which hits the service this Friday. Oh, it's based on R.L. Stine's best-selling horror series. Okay. I see. So it's R.L. Stine. Okay. I've always admired R.L. Stine. Never really got into it. Let's read the summary. I always got the sense that R.L. Stine had a sense of humor in his writing. The Fear Street books take place in the fictionalized city of Shadyside. Well, that's your first problem. Welcome to the city of Death Evil. Sorry, what? Death Evil. Yeah, but the housing prices are fantastic. And feature average teenagers who are older than the typical Goosebumps preteens and encounter malignant, sometimes paranormal adversaries. While some of the Fear Street... teenagers who are older than the typical Goosebumps preteens. A very important distinction. 13 versus 17. I don't even know why that's a distinction. And if they are average teenagers, they'd better all be depressed. While some of the Fear Street novels have paranormal elements such as ghosts, others are simply murder mysteries. Although the Goosebumps books have a few deaths, the deaths are presented in Fear Street, particularly the sagas, are far more gruesome with more blood and gore. Wow. The title of the series comes from the name of a fictional street in Shadyside, which was named after the Fear family. Their name was originally spelled as F-I-E-R. However, after being told that the family was cursed and that the letters would be rearranged to spell fire, Simon Fear changed it to Fear in the 19th century. That's hilarious. So he changed Fear to Fear, spelled the way that you spell the word that means I'm afraid of something. And for some reason, they did not avoid the curse. Perhaps if he had changed the name to Goldblatt, the curse would have gotten confused. I'm changing my name. We're changing our family name to Fear. That seems to be even more on the nose. Are we going in the direction of the curse? Should we just change our name to Curse? But I think he's writing this, there's a tongue in cheek when he's writing this, I would think. Well, that's something. Look at that. Fear Street. Good for them. Rave reviews. Netflix cancels 4 comedy series. Ouch. Country Comfort. NASCAR, The Crew. Gabriel Iglesias' show. Wow. It's a lot of cancellations. And the one thing that they all have in common, I had no idea they existed. And that could be why they got canceled. Naomi... North American, right? There's a new movie. Naomi Rapace-led Lamb. The dark and atmospheric folktale follows a childless couple in rural Iceland who makes an alarming discovery one day in their sheep barn. They soon face the consequences of defying the will of nature. I wonder if it's a lamb that they find. I think it is, because in the still, the guy's holding a lamb. Don't mess with that lamb. If you mess with that lamb, the lamb will kill you, and or right before the lamb kills you, the lamb will go, bye. So according to your testimony, right before the lamb killed your husband, the lamb said, and I quote, bye. Is that correct? No, but it was that lamb thing where it's bye. There's that glottal thing, bye, and then bye. Did the bye have the glottal thing as well? I couldn't tell. I was too busy watching my husband be decapitated by this lamb that can hold an axe. Bye. Got to be honest, lamb, that never really worked. I know it didn't. I know. I don't know. How about this one? I don't mean to be sheepish, but no, it's not going to work. Yeah. How about man to the slaughter? Am I right? That's got potential. That's got potential. I don't think it's Naomi. I think it's Noomi Rapace, who was in Prometheus, the prequel to Alien that was not a prequel, but sort of not a prequel. I enjoyed that film. I enjoyed Prometheus. It was a little, I enjoyed it because it was a little heady, and I think it was a little, what's the word? I enjoyed it because they didn't answer all the questions. You know what? That's why I enjoyed it. They didn't answer all the questions exactly. And then by the time they got to Alien Covenant, they sort of did answer all the questions, and I didn't like that one as much. But Prometheus, I enjoyed Prometheus. I think the tricky part of Prometheus was because it took place before Alien, and we're seeing how the aliens came to be aliens. It didn't go through the typical structure of an alien movie where somebody gets implanted with the alien bursts out of the chest, it grows, they got to hunt the alien, and then it ends up that one or two people survive, and the alien gets blown out of an airlock. You think the alien that was blown out of the airlock in the first Alien movie came across the alien that was blown out of the airlock in the second Alien movie? They're floating in space, and they're like, "You too? Was it the girl with the curly brown hair? Was it the brunette? Yeah. Ah." We got to not stand near airlocks anymore. That's the first I got to remember this. If I run into any more of our kind, I tell them, you stay away from the airlock. They always get you with the airlock. What's her name? Ripley? Yeah, Ripley. That was the one. Ah. Darn. All right, more movie news. More movie news, shall we? Black Adam in final week of filming. So this is... Dwayne Johnson is the lead, but I think Black Adam is originally a kind of a bad guy, but sort of an anti-hero. But it's also... Oh, Pierce Brosnan is Dr. Fate. I like that. Oh, that's cool. I'm sure that'll be fun. I'm sure that'll be great. Although, I guess the question is Black Adam and Shazam going to be in a movie together? Because I think Black Adam was originally the bad guy, the nemesis of Shazam. What's this? Star Wars Visions. Ooh, Japanese animation studios creating 9 different short films set within the Star Wars universe. Ooh. That's always a good thing. I always love when they go to the anime studios. They did that for Batman. Bunch of Batman anime. Fantastic. I love anime. I love anime. The giant robots especially. Whenever there's a giant robot, I am a kid in a candy store. I've always loved the giant robots. They are so cool. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Zordon creates these giant robot dinosaurs that transform into a giant robot samurai. And I just think there needs to be a scene where one of the Power Rangers says, Why? I mean, you'd think it would just be easier to shoot a missile at the bad guy. Why do we have giant robot dinosaurs that transform into an even bigger robot samurai? And Zordon says, because it's cool. Because I can, and because it's cool. That is why. Next question. Does anyone have a question that is not stupid? Oh, yeah. Huge fan of the giant robots. Huge fan of the giant robots. I got to work this out into a bit because very often the giant robots kind of look like robot samurai. So they have, even it's a giant robot, but it has a samurai helmet. It's adorned in the style of a samurai, which only adds to the elegance and the mystique. And what's amazing to me is that feels right. But if they were to make a robot in America, and they would try to dress the robot in a traditional American style. So samurai, that's ancient warrior, right? So America, I feel like the closest thing to that would be, like, you can't have a robot, they can't have a giant robot wearing a powdered wig. That's what it would be. Like George Washington and the Battle for Independence. A giant robot wearing a powdered wig and knee-high stockings with this birthmark on the cheek. They put that as that's how the robot, that's how they make the robot, and everyone looks at it and goes, I don't feel particularly safe right now. I'm not sure I like this. I don't buy it. I don't think you can take any wardrobe in America in any history and put it on a robot and have it feel okay. You're going to dress him like a cowboy? A robot with a giant cowboy hat? That might actually... My only concern is that the robot would have too much swagger. I feel like the robot wouldn't take the situation seriously. The robot would think it was too darn good and then miscalculate at the end. But can't have a cowboy hat. Can't have a robot with bell bottoms. That's not gonna cut it. I mean, unless the robot is dancing, unless it's a robot dance-off, which is a movie I don't want to deal with. But it might be a fantastic movie, a robot dance-off. Can't do bell bottoms. I don't think a scarf would help. I don't think I don't think a business suit would help at all. I'd hate that robot. A robot wearing a business suit? Is this a robot attorney? What's it holding in its hand? It's a brief. It's a giant legal brief. Which, I mean, unless the courtroom and the judge are also giant robots, respectively, I don't think the brief needed to be that big. But it's a lot. How did he... He had to make paper that was 8.5 feet by 11 feet. He actually did that. When did he have time to do that? Is there a robot printer somewhere? Yeah, it just wouldn't work. All right, we're 51 minutes in. I'm feeling okay about this one. I'm feeling another one in the can. I like where we're going with this. I think we made some headway. I think we made some discoveries. I think we grew. We changed. Some of us maybe grew less. Some of us, I think, maybe devolved after this podcast. But yeah, that'll do it.